I want to quickly talk about the social media bans because that is kind of like a big deal. So if I'm not mistaken, the reason that the social media companies decided to take to actually do something about it, and maybe it's also because it's really close to him just being out the door, was because he, like, during these riots, he was in a sense encouraging it. So that was kind of like the last straw. They were like, nah, we got to cut you off. So so they cut him off, but I do want to point out that Gab is a company, another social media company.
They got all his tweets.
That actually have gathered all his tweets, and they recreated his account on Gab. And apparently they're doing it with a few other social media profiles. I know YouTube specifically was one that they made a comment on. So there's kind of one thing I want to point out, or several things. I'm glad that someone shut him up, but I worry about, I guess, where this can go. Because, it was always nice to, well, not nice, but it was always, I think, to our benefit to be able to see his thoughts. It's just like everybody see it, right? Because everybody's on this platform. But I think this might take social media in a different direction, where because of this, right? I think we might end up with maybe more. How do I call it? Like the decentralization of social media platforms. If things do go in this direction, right?
What do you mean?
Right now, right, there are a bunch of social media platforms, right? But the main ones that we think about are like Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, things like that, right? Yeah. So now that he got banned from these platforms, right, there's an opportunity for other social media platforms to rise and take the place of, and pretty much do what these other companies were doing, but for the people that are, for the rebels, whatever, for Trump in this specific case. So I think it's good and bad. I think it's good, right? Decentralizing of any type of service. I think it's good. But I don't know exactly where this could, it could turn out to be really bad, right? Imagine having a super private social media network, right? Where it's just like, maybe you need some type of membership, some crazy shit is going on there. But yeah, man, I just, the social media thing, I think it's gonna be very, very interesting. I think just in the coming months, just in regards to just just free speech and just the role of tech companies. At the end of the day, I don't know. I guess I'm kind of glad that he got the smack in the face, but I don't really know how to feel about it long term.
Well,
oh shit! Everyone's like,
everybody's ready to go in on this. Who wants to go first? I'm fine either way.
I'll try to be quick.
Okay, go ahead.
So I share your feelings. I'm ambivalent about it because it sucks because people who are Trump supporters are saying this is like some huge shot to freedom of speech, which isn't necessarily true. Twitter, Facebook, they're all companies. They all have the right to ban whomever. According to them, they banned Trump over the violation of the TOS terms of service, which is bullshit. They're publicly traded companies and they're going to do what's best for their platform. And they probably decided that having Trump on their platform isn't good for their brand. It's just is what it is. They have to answer to the shareholders. So this is, from there, and it's less of like a ideological sort of move, but it's more like just like a company move looking toward the future. Like, okay, we had our fun with Trump. We're done. We'll move on. Now he sucks for the brand, whatever. We get him the fuck out. On the other end, it does suck that so much of the public discourse, like Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, even to a degree TikTok, this is like the public square circa 2020, right? And if you have these three companies, one that's primarily owned by a Chinese company, and then Instagram, Facebook owned by Facebook, and Twitter owned by Twitter. You basically have these three companies who could oversee, change, and shift the direction of public discourse, not only through who they ban, but through the algorithms, what they show you. Things of that nature. So I just think this was like a reminder of like where we're at, this just shows how much power that they have, how much they could leverage. And just like DK said, in a weird way, it is good to have other people step in, even if they're helping someone like Trump, having, more chefs in the kitchen could help diffuse some of that power that they have over like the public discourse.
Well, I completely 1000% agree with you, Ed Boy, and you, DK. You got like that. Those are the thoughts that came in my mind when he finally got kicked off. I was on Twitter and I saw a video from, I believe it was 2016 or 2017. Somebody from CNN where they were interviewing Kamala about Trump and tweeting, and was like, listen, do you think that he's like enabling, like, you think people can die from his tweets? Basically, that's the interviewer was very straightforward with it, and Kamala was like, yes, absolutely, like he is dangerous with his tweeting. Like how can, and then the interviewer was just like, but what about freedom of speech? And Kamala was like, freedom of speech is not licensed to kill. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, like this guy has at the time 60 million followers. Currently, before he got shut down, he had about 88 million followers. And the manifestos for a number of mass shooters, they were Trump supporters. Freaking Derek Chauvin was a Trump supporter. Kyle Rittenhouse was a Trump supporter. Like you see the common theme here. And the rioters or treasoners or whatever you want to call them, the majority of them were MAGA hat wearing Trump supporters. Like there's a common theme here. So it's like this guy was, it's not a matter of speculation. This guy was emboldening. We've mentioned it on this show so many times. He was emboldening people to do some wild, outlandish shit. And now blood is on his hands, really, from tweeting. You can't. There's no way you can dismiss it. There's no way you can, like, obviously, if you're an apologist for the Republican Party, like Josh Hawley or Ted Cruz, they can make up some bullshit, or Marjorie, whatever name, the Cunin psycho, they can find a way to spin it and be like, well, he's got freedom of speech and, yada, yada, yada. But listen, at the end of the day, a lot of the craziness and a lot of the death and a lot of the wild violence that you can point back to white supremacy at the end of the day, because that's the meat and potatoes about it. Like, his tweets have played a big role in it. And of course his speeches and his freaking pep rallies as well. But his tweets, you can't say that it didn't. So for him to be shut down, this is something that should have happened years ago. It's a shame that it took something of this magnitude that's going to be in the freaking history books long after we're all gone, that for this guy to have been removed from Twitter. But this is something that could have been prevented, I believe. If he didn't have a Twitter account, I'm hard pressed to believe something like this would have been as seamless. You know what I mean? But hey, here we are.
Wow.
What about you?
He's like, I agree.
Like, what the fuck?
Back to you.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. No. It goes to show the power of speech and the power of weaponizing your fan base. One, we only had two presidents who used social media, Obama being the first, and now Trump being the second. Because one for good, one for evil, depending on how you look at it. And,
Yo, that's so spot on.
And
oh my God.
It's scary, but it also begs the question: like, if somebody else chooses to weaponize their fan base, are we going to silence them as well? And if Trump is going to be silenced if he does find a way, like you were talking about, Jose, if he has a secret social media, right, or create a
burner account,
right, or create a Trump network, a Trump social media network where he himself has the power to silence himself or whomever is on his platform, that's a whole nother superpower that he can then create and weaponize and use to move whatever needs to be moved.